welcome back to White Sparrow Living, Luke 12:6. This is Wendy. Today I'm so excited because we'll be doing some spring trash to treasures with Casey from Coffee with My Sunshine and her co-host Julia from A Mug Life DIY. So doing trash to treasures usually means going and getting something from the Goodwill or something that you're just not using or might be really ugly, but I decided I was going to actually use some for real trash. So I hope you like these DIYs, and if you're new here, please consider hitting that subscribe button down below. And if you're here for the first time from Casey or Julia's channel, welcome, and I hope you enjoy these videos.
For our first project, we're going to be using this ginormous pickle jar. My Michael J really loves his pickles. And then a flower bouquet from the Dollar Tree. I was going to use the grass on the left, but I ended up not. And then some little bunnies and Easter eggs. Some super small clay pots. They come 3 in a pack, but we're just using one. And then some floral moss, some acetone and paper towels, and then some white chalk paint and some lavender chalk paint, and then some lavender florals from Walmart and some purple little flowers, some jute twine, and then our glue gun, scissors, and wire cutters. And the first thing we're going to do is get our jar ready by taking off the stickers on the front and back, and it has some pretty heavy duty adhesive, so I had to use my heat gun to get the back one off. And then I'm going to go back in with my acetone, and I just stuck a paper towel into the jar of acetone and then rubbed it onto the gooky sticky stuff and gave it a good rub so that it would come all off without messing up my fingernails. But after you get it on there, then you just kind of clean it off until everything is completely gone. So now I'm going to get all my pieces ready to paint, and I like to do all of the painting at the same time. And so I'm getting my bunnies and the eggs and the lid of the jar, as well as one of the pots. And I'm going to paint all of them white as a base coat for everything. My lid's going to stay white, but my bunnies and my pot and my eggs, those are all going to have some lavender highlights. And for the pot, you want to paint the inside as well and the bottom, which I forgot to do, but I go back later and cover that all up. And for the bunnies, I made one a little bit darker than the other, but I don't want a full coverage. I want it to be all nice and blended and kind of give it a patina look, and we'll call it purple patina. For the 4 different eggs, I gave them different designs. So one had stripes, one had polka dots, and one was just blended. And so I wanted to try my hand at making some little roses, which I did here, and I'm loving the way they look. But I ended up going back in with some celery chalk paint and adding little leaves, and you'll see that in a little while. So now I'm going to take my moss and just pour it all into the bottom of the pickle jar, and then just kind of pushed it around to make sure everything was covered at the bottom. And then I'm going to take my little bunny's tails and put those back on, and then using some jute twine, I wrapped a sweet little bow around each of their necks to dress them up a little bit. And then I'm going to take a small purple flower and put that in the middle of each of those. So now I'm taking my pot and putting it in towards the back, what will be the back, and I laid it down on its side and then took some of the moss and shoved it inside, just laid it in there a little bit. I'm not gluing anything down, and so it makes it a lot easier to move everything, and you won't have all those crazy strings either. So then I placed my bunnies facing each other because they're in love. And then I'm going to place my eggs here and there, and some in the pot and one in the very front. So now I'm taking a couple of very small sprigs of the lavender and just placing them toward the back in between the items, and I think I used 3 or 4, but I wanted to make sure that the bottom part of the stems weren't showing, you know, the little hole where the stick would go up in it. So I just made the moss kind of cover that all up. So because the jar is so large and tall, everything's towards the bottom, and so I needed something a little bit higher to fill the entire space. So I just took this butterfly that's the perfect color. It has the purples and light purples and pinks, and I just hot glued him to the inside of the rim so you could still open and close the jar lid. So now I'm going to use this handle that I got from a splatter screen guard from Dollar Tree that I used in another DIY. And you guys know I don't throw anything away, so this was the perfect part to use for the top of my jar. So I just pulled the screw out and hot glued that to the top of the lid. And I think that kind of hides the fact that this is a big pickle jar. Since you can see this from all sides of the jar, there was a little piece of plastic that I cut off on the back of the butterfly. And so here it is all done, and I so love this. This is so fun to look at. I know my grandkids are going to absolutely love this too. It just brings back childhood memories. I don't know what it is about looking at miniature things in glass, but it just makes my heart so happy to look at this, and I hope you guys like it. For our next project, we're going to be starting with this plastic vodka bottle. And no, it's not mine. Some lamb's ear, and I get this at Walmart for $2 for what you see here. And also at Walmart, this is lavender, and it's $2 as well. And then this is some lavender ribbon from Hobby Lobby. It's regular $6, but half price is $3. And then some Waverly White chalk paint. And then our glue gun, a chenille stem, and our scissors. So as with most of these, we're going to start by taking off the label, and this guy was on there good, so I had to use my heat gun and got that all the way off. So then I started with my bunny, and this was from a DIY that I did, and I'll link that spring playlist down below. But I just cut out a silhouette from a piece of canvas from the Dollar Tree, and this was the piece that I had left over, so I'm using that in this as a stencil. So I just took some Scotch tape and rolled it and put it on the back to place on top of the bottle, and it would have been a lot easier had I had double-sided tape, but I didn't, so I just made do with the rolling method. So I got that pretty secure on top of the bottle, and then with my white chalk paint, I'm gonna brush out or away from the edges of the stencil so that none of the paint leaks through. Since I cut this out of canvas, it's got kind of a rough edge, and I thought that might resemble fur on the bunny. And I ended up doing about 2.5 coats to get a nice full coverage, but I could only do one side at a time, so I had to wait for the front side to be completely dry before I could do the back side. And then I'm going to take my stencil off, and that's always a fun reveal. I forgot to show you this purple, it's called Easter grass, but it's more like a batting type of fiber. And so I'm going to put that into the bottle. I actually got this from my friend, so I have no idea where she got it, but it said it was 99 cents, but it was not Dollar Tree. So anyway, I just took it apart and put it into the bottle, and then I took a skewer to kind of make it go where I wanted it to, so that there was not like a line in his face, and it just made more sense that way, I guess. But I still wanted it random. So now I'm going to take my purple ribbon and wrap the neck of it, and I just hot glued it on the back, and then I'm going to make a sweet bow to put onto the side. So now I'm going to fill it with the lavender and lamb's ear, and I just took the price tag off and stuck them in, but I wanted to make sure that it was behind that batting so that it would kind of push it against the opening of the front of the bottle so you could really see it. And then I'm just going to kind of intertwine the two types of greenery so that it's not just, you know, one stick of this and one stick of that, so that they kind of look like it's an organized arrangement. And here it is all done, and I think this turned out super sweet and super cute. And you could do anything if you use this method with any bottle that you have, and use whatever shape that suits your fancy. And you could even fill it with rocks or moss or anything else, whatever the season calls for. Ooh, flowers would be really pretty too. So anyway, the possibilities are endless, but I hope you like it. For our next project, we're going to be using this Cascade dishwasher pod container, some white Dollar Tree ribbon, some white Waverly chalk paint, some 1-inch striped ribbon that I got from burlapfabric.com. This is actually not the color I used. I used a black and white instead of the beige and white. And then some floral foam, as well as some green moss, and then of course our glue gun, scissors, and wire cutters. So I had made this DIY a couple of videos back, and it was a trash to treasure. I found the basket at Goodwill. So I'm going to try and replicate that using this Cascade container. So the first thing I did was cut off the rim of the lid, and I cut through a little bit, and then I was able to rip off the rest. And then I'm going to take some foam core and trace around the lid so that I can get the size, because that's going to become our lid instead of the green plastic one. So I just used my utility knife and went around all the edges very carefully and slowly. This video is going double time, so you see how slow it really is. And so after I got that all the way out, I took a sanding block and I sanded the edges to make it nice and smooth. So since the label was actually printed onto the plastic, I wasn't able to take it off, so I just painted over it. And I thought I was going to have to do it a lot of times, but I didn't. It only took me 2 coats, which was really surprising. So I wanted to make sure that the front and the 2 sides were all cohesive and didn't have any brush stroke lines at the corners. So I just did long strokes all the way around 3/4 of the way so that I would have a nice pretty finish in the front. And then I painted the top rim and inside so that even though the rim's going to be covered with some ribbon, just in case something peeks out, you can't see any clear plastic. And then I painted the top and bottom of my lid so that it would have the same finish as the rest of the container. So the plastic rim that I pulled off of the edge of the lid had a little piece that was kind of sticking down, and so I needed to cut that off so that it was even all the way around, because this is going to act as our handle. So I painted that as well. This was a little tricky because it's so flimsy, but I just got that covered completely with 2 coats of the chalk paint. So I'm going to be using a bunch of random scrap pieces of greenery, and so they're pretty short, and so I wanted to lift this up so I wouldn't have to put them so far down. So I first put an empty spool into the bottom and hot glued that, and then put my floral foam on top of that as well. And so now to put my handle on, I'm going to just hot glue the edges to the side and get that tacked down pretty well. This is going to be covered with our white ribbon all the way around, and then I'm going to go back in with my black and white striped ribbon from burlapfabric.com. I only had one tiny piece left, and that was what I used on the larger basket, so I really wanted to use this. And the plants will hang over the edge, so you really won't see it, so I used it anyway. So now I'm going to place my lid, and there's a little ridge that kind of holds it and helps it to stay in place. And so I just used a whole bunch of hot glue and got it on there and held it until it was firmly secured. And then in the original version, I have grow at the top that I cut out from my Cameo, but this one's smaller, so there's not really room, and the plants are going to cover most of the lid anyway. So I just started taking my greenery and placing it into the floral foam, and some of them didn't even have the stems in them, so just something you can do if you've got extra scraps that don't have a stem, you can just pull one off of another piece and stick it into that, and now you have a stem that you can stick into the floral foam. So I'm just putting them overlapping and hanging out and getting a variety of different greens that I had, and I'll fill this all up. And then there were a couple of spots where you can't really see it on film, but I could see the floral foam from some of the openings, and so I just filled those with some green moss. So now I'm going to take this medium point black Sharpie, and this is an oil-based paint pen, and you just shake it up to use it, and I'm going to write hope at the bottom left-hand corner, and then I'm also going to put the scripture, which is Isaiah 40:31, on the right side of the handle. And I love this scripture. It's actually above our bed, and it says, "But those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength. They will soar on wings like eagles. They will run and not grow weary. They will walk and not be faint." And I thought that was really appropriate for everything that we're going through at the moment. And here it is, all done, and I think this turned out so stinking cute. I love the crispness of the white, and I think I said that about the other one as well in that video. But you don't have to use this ribbon, obviously, if you don't have it. You can use whatever works with your decor or give it some color, whatever you think. You could also fill it with some flowers. And here it is being the mini-me of the larger basket. But I hope you guys like this. And so for our final project, we're going to be using a cardboard box, a dog collar, some Mod Podge, hook and loop tape, and an old book. You can use any kind of cardboard box, but I like this one because it's flat and it has a front flap. So if you can find something like this, that would be good. But I'm going to cut off the side flaps and pull out the insides. You could use this actually as a jewelry box too, or something that has, or maybe for cell phones or something. But anyway, again, the possibilities are endless. But use what you have, and this is a trash to treasure, so we're going to use our trash. So I just cut off the two side flaps, and I'm going to cover the entire outside of the box with the old book and some Mod Podge. So all I do is spread a layer of the Mod Podge over the top wherever I'm starting, and I'll start laying the pages on top of that and then go over the top of those with more Mod Podge. I want to go over the sides of the front flap and on the back so that it looks like it's all one piece. But then I'm going to fill in the small sections with pieces that I've ripped up from the book pages. And I really like when there's wrinkles and some texture to what I'm putting down. So wherever there's going to be a natural wrinkle, I push it in with my finger to make sure that it stays in place. And at one point I even pulled the page in a little bit at the corner so it looked like it was folded over. I had a bunch of the already torn pieces from a DIY that I did where I covered a big Easter egg, and I had a whole bunch of them, and then I was thinking, gosh, I'm using a lot. I couldn't understand why I kept running out and had to pull more out and rip some more. And then I realized my ceiling fan was on and they kept blowing away off of my table when I didn't see. Those dang hot flashes. So once it was semi-dry, I cut off all the excess paper where I didn't fold it over. And then after I put the final coat on, I had to use my heat gun to get it to dry. So now I'm going to take my dog collar, and it was creased in certain areas because of the way it was folded on the card. So I just used my flat iron and got all those little lines and bumps out so that I could use it for the front flap, which is probably going to be used quite a bit, and so I didn't want the paper to come up, so this should protect it. So all I did was hot glued on each of the ends and along the middle, and had it facing down so that you couldn't see the dog bones, although the dog bones would be cute too. So after I got it all secure, I cut off the excess, and then I'm going to add some hook and loop tape. And so to do that, I just took it off of the backing, and then I put the two pieces together. This is self-adhesive, so it's already got adhesive on it, but I also added some hot glue just to make it more secure. But you just put it on one side and then push it down so that it goes to the place that it needs to be. So then I measured the top and I cut out a decal, and the font I used here is called ALGERIAN. And so I'm going to weed this out and then place my transfer tape on top of this, and then I'm going to apply that to the top of the box lid. I'll also have another decal that I'll do in just a second, but both of these will be available in my Etsy shop, and that is White Sparrow Living, and you guys don't know what it says yet, do you? So this is the fun part. I'm just going to leave you guys hanging. So as you can see, it says click and Wi-Fi password. And so this is going to be a box to hold your remote controls. And so my daughter and I do some decorating on the side when she's not pregnant. And so we always like to keep remote controls in some sort of decorative box because I just don't think they're very pretty. So this is going to be one that I use in my living room. And so I think this is a super fun way to decorate the box myself. So I get this onto the top, and then on the inside I'm going to put the Wi-Fi password, and then a wooden clothespin will be glued to the side of that, and then you can keep your Wi-Fi password handy in case it's something that's hard to remember. And here it is all done. I think this is so cute and super functional. And I should have probably done the inside, but I was running late and I really wanted to get this video out. So I'll still probably go back in and do that. So I love how it turned out. I like how the letters of the vinyl go over the folds and have the wrinkles in them as well. And so I get all of my vinyl from Frisco Craft, and I think they're kind of a smaller company. I get it on Amazon. I'll link that in the description box below. But they are so super sweet, and I reached out to them as opposed to them reaching out to me, just because this is where I bought my vinyl and just love it. So I don't know if you remember, but the box that I actually used was holding some flatware from Eco Buddies. And so since you guys have watched this long, I want to give you a chance to win a set of these birchwood flatware cutlery sets. So if you would like a set of these, leave me a comment that has the emojis of the knife and fork. And if you don't have emojis, you can just type in knife and fork. And so that'll be our little secret of how you can win a set for yourself. Also, don't forget to check out Julia and Casey's channels and the playlist with all the trash to treasures that I'll link below. These are a bunch of talented DIYers that I know you'll enjoy, and let them know that I sent you. I just found out you can actually share videos, so if you would, that would be great. You can do that on Facebook or Instagram. No, I don't think you can do it on Instagram. I don't know. But anyway, just comment and let me know what you think, and hit the bell and subscribe. And I just appreciate you all so much. Thank you for watching. Have a blessed day, and remember to always be the light. Bye.